Guys, gals, and pals, welcome to Paint and Talk episode 9. I hope you had just the best 24 hours ever since the last time I've seen you, as always. Actually, no I don't. That wasn't honest. That you could hear that in my voice. That wasn't honest. That was me going with emotions. In reality, I was just saying that I hope you had like a good day though. Like, of course, always, I'm not, evil, but I myself have been doing pretty well. I've had a pretty good 24 hours, and I'm excited today to paint and talk somewhat at the same time. I do just want to get out of the way right away. I'm trying a different lighting setup today, so you might notice on the painting cam there's a little shadow under the brush. I don't know if that will really pick up on camera, but it might. I don't know, I want to try it out, because I realize that with the two lights here, one, I get too hot, two, I look really greasy on camera because of just the sheer amount of light. Like, it makes me super shiny looking, and it looks like I'm actually a grease monster, which I'm not. I'm not a grease monster, guys. So I wanted to try this, and I also realized that, like, the painting camera is noticeably different than the main camera, like in the colors of the panels behind me. So I don't think there's a way, honestly, to get them perfectly exact. You know what I mean? Like, that it doesn't really matter either, but I just want it to be, I don't know, I want to try balance things out a little bit. And yeah, so that's the explanation there. If things look abhorrently awful, it's not my fault. Okay, here's the deal, actually. If it looks bad, I didn't set this up, someone else set it up. If it looks good, I set this up myself, and I really think I did a great job. So, yeah, that's basically the story there. Today, I was thinking about something that was interesting. I honestly forget, well, interesting to me at least. I honestly forget what sparked my thinking about this. But I was just thinking about, like, I wonder how much of what people do is genuinely just in an effort to, like, make themselves feel better about being them. And, like, I don't know, I don't want to call it like a theory, but I wonder if, like, to me in my mind, it makes sense that, like, there's a lot of, like, just by existing day to day, there's a lot of, like, stuff you could think about that you're doing that's objectively awful. Like, these lights. These were for $20 on Amazon. The lights that you can't see, but that I'm using to record this. These were $20 on Amazon. There's no way these were made ethically. Someone is probably having the worst time ever across the world making these lights. You know what I mean? I don't know where these brushes were made. Does it have it on the brush? I don't know. But I can't imagine that they're, the practices that go into, like, everything surrounding me is probably pretty awful, right? And this is something we all acknowledge, you know what I mean? I mean, like, I don't think there are many people that think, like, everything's handmade still. I don't think many people are above the age of 10 believing in the North Pole that elves are making all of our things. And I think you can even extend this to other things, of just, like, I mean, how many times a day do you do something that you want to do at the chagrin of someone? Is that the word? Like, what's the word when you win and they lose? You know what I mean? In ways you don't even know, like, you could have gotten a job last week and someone else needed that job way more, and they're, like, not doing well now. Like a million things a day probably happen that really aren't good. I mean, our phones. I'm sure you're watching this on a device that was made with, like actual slave labor, basically, like, or wage slavery at the very least. So much, and this isn't me trying to, like, overly, this isn't me trying to be like, oh, I acknowledge these things so much. I do, but I'm not doing anything about it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even gonna pretend that I'm, like, the foremost person to be scolding people on the ethicality of their consumption. I mean, like, I'm still here recording with all the brushes and the lights on my phones. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't like in any effort me trying to morally grandstand. Is that the term? In no way is that what's going on here. But I do think, like, it's interesting of how do I put this? I feel like I see a lot of things these days on a daily basis that people do that just make utterly no sense. Like, logically, they make no sense, you know? And sometimes I'm thinking, like, I wonder if, like, some of this is, like, an effort to, like, not directly, but, like, on some weird... I'm not smart enough to say psychological, but that's the word I'm looking for, you know what I mean? On some weird level like that. I wonder how much of it is, like, in an effort to do that. Not so much... We all have to use, like, a certain level of cognitive dissonance to, like, go through our day. You know what I mean? Like, if I, every time I fired up these cameras, thought about everything wrong with everything around me and everything wrong with you know, this and that and the other thing, I would never move. I'd be, you know, just sitting, contemplating everything all the time, and I'd be like a shell of myself. And we all would if we were to think that deeply about things. But like, to a degree, we recognize it. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone was watching this surprised that everything around me and, you know, so many things are completely unethical about the way that we live. You know what I mean? And we have to take, like, a relative level of cognitive dissonance to keep going. Meaning, like, we have to kind of ignore it. And I wonder if in some other way we try and make up for that. You know what I mean? In ways that make us feel better. Here's an example that it has nothing to do with what I was just saying, but I think it's kind of like, not a metaphor. An example of, like, another situation where it's a similar story. 2020 during BLM, right? Which I just right off the bat, good thing. Democrats kind of ruined the good thing, but this instance of it in the middle was especially stupid, right? I don't know if anyone else remembers this thing, Blackout Tuesday, right? Where, and maybe, listen, I'm not gonna act like I was the most, you know, intelligent person in 2020 ever, you know? But, so there could have been some genuine good thing about this, but to me then and to me now, this seems really dumb. Blackout Tuesday, if you guys recall, was this thing where everyone would post a black square on social media in solidarity with the movement. And I remember, I still make fun of people to this day for this, because this was just so detached from anything, and it was an example. I think maybe it's what really got me thinking about this kind of, like, idea for the first time of, like, people are genuinely just doing this to make themselves feel better, right? Like, they are. Like, there's no way anyone thinks this is genuinely productive. They just want to seem like it is. Like, I can't tell you guys how many people I know, like, in my life back then, that were completely, you know, that were, like, being very ignorant at that time about the things going on, that still threw that off just because they were like, no, people are going to make fun of me if I don't. You know what I mean? Like, it was perhaps one of the stupidest things ever. And it to me, I think, was, like, a point where I was like, this is getting very detached from the larger picture here. But, you know, like, there's terrible things going on. Police brutality, systemic racism, all that. That's going on, right? Still is. And, in my eyes, a pretty productive movement comes around about it. That being BLM. And I think the best thing it perhaps did was generate awareness. You know what I mean? Like, so many people who had never had to think about this kind of thing before were thinking about it. So I think it's a net good. But, like, then I think large, maybe, groups of people were thinking about this thing they never thought about before, being like, oh, there's this system around me that I as a white person benefit from, or, you know, I as X person benefit from more than Y person. You know what I mean? They had to really wake up to the world around them and, like, what was going on. And I think a lot of people had the reaction of like I gotta do something, but they're not gonna take to the streets, not gonna do anything. So how do you make yourself for a day feel better about what's going on? You know what I mean? Or, like, be like, no, like, I did something. You post a dumb black square on Instagram and hashtag Blackout Tuesday. And you know what? Social media was still useful that day. Nothing blacked out. Like, there was, you know, like, it didn't work. And no one thought it was gonna work. It was dumb. And, like, I think maybe the reason, and listen, this is the case with every discussion I've ever done on these videos. This is not at all in me trying to say that I have like a right answer here. This is just like what I was thinking at the time based on what I observed and kind of what I've taken away from it, especially because so many people that posted that have just never even spoken about a single social issue ever since. Even when there were social issues that they had so much more direct impact on, that they were so much closer to, so many people I know have never spoken on again. And I'm not saying everyone needs to be an activist, but I'm saying that when you're only an activist, sometimes it says something, you know? Kind of like, what's that phrase that's like silence speaks louder than noise when something's going on? I don't know, I should stop trying to quote things that I don't know, but so I think like that was the first time where I really was thinking about I wonder what's really going on here as far as like the emotions behind it and all those things. And I think maybe some of it is to make people feel better about their own contribution to that, you know? And I think that's, I don't know what I take from that. Like, is it better that people want to feel better about it? Because that means that they realize something wrong is going on, you know what I mean? I think a case of this recently is the stuff going on with like in the Middle East and the war in Gaza, right? Like, so many people are taking to Instagram 10 times a day to post these infographics, and it's like, you're not really doing anything, you know what I mean? Like that's nice, and I guess it's better than nothing, but if that's the extent of everything, then it's like, you know, like maybe what I'm talking about more here is like social media activism than anything, and like how much of that. So like when it comes to something like that though, do I want to take away this is a good thing because people are at least like out there recognizing that something is wrong? You know what I mean? Like you don't want to make yourself feel better about something unless you recognize that it's wrong. But like you can't help but be a little annoyed, can you? You know what I mean? Not even trying to be, and I'm not trying to like do this as some like, again, I feel like this whole conversation, it's very easy to come off as like super morally grandstanding. That's not what I want to do at all. I'm honestly a worse activist than all that because I do get too paralyzed to speak, I think, a lot of the time about things. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is the last 2 years of my life have been the first time that I even feel comfortable having conversations about a lot of these things, feeling like I know enough to speak. So, you know, if you look back at my record, I haven't done shit. I'll say it, you know, like I'm not the person to even make this point, but as someone who has been like, I feel like kind of sitting around the last, years of my life and observing these things as I morphed politically, I would love to do, honestly, like, I don't know, I want to keep, because obviously politics are an element of this show, they just have to be, you know what I mean? I talk about random topics, and I try and just, the goal of, like, when I speak is, like, on this show, because it could very easily just turn into, like, yeah, I woke up today, and then I did this, and I did that. It could very easily turn into that, I think. And I don't want it to, because I just feel like who's gonna watch that? You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to watch that. So my goal with a lot of these is to at least give it like the semblance of like a talk with a friend, you know, about a topic. My whole life I've had this really big issue that I like people hate talking to me about these things, to be honest. A lot of people do, at least, in my life, which is fine. I don't mean to, you know, they're not obligated, but because like it'll be just too long, too drawn out, and I get that. But I was like, you know, maybe that'd be a good type of thing for a 30-minute thing a day, you know? So that's kind of my goal with these. And politics is gonna come up at some point. So I think like maybe it's not a bad idea to do it on a more direct level. But I feel like at this point, my politics are so vague, so like honestly dumb, that like is it even worth it? You know what I mean? Because I went from right to left to like center. Like I feel like I'm like down now. You know what I mean? Like it's not even left or right. But I think I wrote in my name on this last election. That was a joke. I should not say that. That'd be crazy. But back to the topic, the main topic, I'm not the person to be scolding on this, but as someone who, and I'm not trying to scold either. If you log off this or click off this video and go post something on your Instagram, I guess it's better than you not. But also, I'm just wondering how much of that comes from a desire to make yourself feel better about it versus having something to genuinely say. You know what I mean? I think a great example of this is like some celebrities. I remember Justin Bieber specifically when it was very early in the whole Gaza war happening, and he posted a picture of Gaza destroyed with like "Pray for Israel" over it, which is obviously he's huge victim of misinformation there, and now he's like walking around all pro-Palestine. And it's like the good part of me wants to believe that he learned some things going on, or like switched sides for whatever reason, maybe read a bunch of books and like got educated. Like the optimist in me wants to believe that, but like also it's hard to look at those two things and be like, this is someone to look to. It feels like he's just trying to make himself feel better about what's going on, or make himself look better. I don't like to get into, that's one thing I don't want to do. I don't like to get into the conversation of like people only take this thing because it looks better, because that's just not true. I don't think that's, or at least in my opinion, I think it's a very hard point to defend, because like let's say you say Justin Bieber took the side of X side because he wants to look better. All the people from Y side are just gonna hate on him. You know what I mean? When you have a divisive issue, it's hard to pick something to look better. Unless you're like in a friend group where there's a certain answer that everyone likes and you can appeal to them that way. But as far as like, so often I think people are like, oh, he's only making those videos, or he's only saying these things because he thinks it looks good. And it's like, yeah, but you're over here screaming at him for us. How good does it really look? You know what I mean? So I think that's a very hard stance to defend. And I don't really buy it. But I do think it's interesting, because I wonder if we are like, we don't want to be conscious of everything, right? We just don't. I don't want to be. And I wonder if because of the internet and things, we become conscious of just enough now that we don't want to know more, and we want to feel better about the things we are conscious about. Or maybe this is a non-issue. Maybe this is a non-issue that I'm going too deep into here. I think a lot of these conversations in there, because at the end of the day, even if someone is posting, X photo on Instagram to make themselves feel better, isn't that better than not doing anything? The people, I guess it's better than not doing anything, but worse than doing something, Maybe there's a scale of some sort. So maybe it is a non-issue. I would like to, though, like just getting to the core of like how much of it is just to make ourselves, whoa, I have a shaky hand right now. Getting back to the core of what I was saying, like how much of it is to make ourselves feel better. I wonder if like we'll ever know that. You know what I mean? I think about these things all the time of like, I think lie detector tests are pretty bad. Like I don't think they work from what I know. And sometimes when I look at stuff like that, I wonder if we'll ever be able to like get definitive truths. Like, will we ever be able to hook someone up and be like, do you really think this, or are you doing that to look good? Like I was saying before, and like we could get a real answer. I always wonder if that'll ever happen with science. And then I think about it and I'm like, do I want it to happen though? And this is a part of, I have a ton of friends in STEM, right? And I always say to them, half jokingly, but like there's an edge of seriousness to it too, that like I think their field should shut down because I don't want to know that much, and like it's so weird because I love all this stuff. Like I'll talk about philosophy and stuff all day. Like I think it's so interesting, but the second that like you tell me exactly how like my brain works, or like show me the parts of my brain, I'm like, no, like I don't want to know. I don't want to. The second I know, it's too much. You know what I mean? Like I feel like society was probably a whole lot more fun when we didn't know where thunder came from, because then we were just like, oh my god, like God is out today. Like that must have been an insane day. And then once a week you have something super fun happening. Obviously science is great though, you know what I mean? Like medical stuff is super necessary. But like then I look at the iPhone and I'm like, what if we just didn't? Like what if we just calm down on this? You know? But it's too late now, you know? It's like there's no way to not do technology in 2025. So like that's why I'm always telling them, like, just please shut down your field. Because like I was just saying, like, I wonder if we'll ever be able to like tell directly what someone's intentions are when they do something. Like I kind of don't want to know, you know what I mean? Because what if they do that on the wrong thing and I find out something I really didn't want to know? Sometimes things are better with a little bit of mysticism, where you can just think about them long enough to make yourself feel better about it. Maybe we've come full circle. You know, I think of the phrase ignorance is bliss as a really dumb term, but it gets it right sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes it is like true. You wanna not have to know as much, and now that we know how all these things work, there's amazing things that come out of it, like living longer, but there's a lot of the world's been like demystified so much, and sometimes I don't want that demystification. It's interesting, I guess. I don't know, cause like I think I'm a kind of hypocrite in saying that, cause I do like I don't want to go back to a time where we believe like thunder's coming from a thunder god, you know what I mean? But I also think the world would be a lot more interesting if we knew a little bit less all the time. And I think maybe there's like a sweet spot in the middle, you know? I think that's something I always find so interesting, is like the way we romanticize things, because I do think I romanticize the past a lot. As someone who has never lived in the past, you know, I look back and I'm like, man, like it sounds so much cooler, you know? But at the same time, I remember there was this interview after the election with this like super conservative couple, and they were like, what time period do you want to go back to? Because they were like hyper conservative, like they directly wanted to go back to the past, and they said the 1950s, and it's like, yeah, the 1950s seem great when you just imagine the guys in suits going to work and like everyone has you know, a picket fence and all that. But then when you think about what was really going on in the 1950s, no, it wasn't great at all. It's, you know, so many groups didn't have rights, so much bad stuff was going on all the time, and we needed technology. We needed med tech wasn't there yet, things weren't good yet, you know. So it's like the person answering that question is saying like the 1950s is the sweet spot, but the sweet spot always comes with like a whole lot of bad stuff. Like there is no sweet spot. Maybe this is kind of like an optimistic thing though. Maybe the sweet spot's the future. Maybe that's the conclusion we all need to take, is that the sweet spot is a future we can work towards. Because I think I understand, like I get it. I think everyone should have the white picket fence. I think that's so nice. Like I think the classical idea of like, this is a great thing is awesome, as long as people have the freedom to not do that thing and all the other great things that come along with it. You know what I mean? Like I don't see any reason why we can't fix a bunch of the issues in the world and still have the good elements of like the guys go to work wearing a suit and they, you know, it's like super 2 kids, a white picket fence, or, you know, I think that sounds great. I think most people do. You'll find I personally have not met many people who are like, I don't like that. Like most people think that's really cool to some degree. But like, why can't we retain the cool elements of that while moving to something else? Is the reason, you know, the reason we think the 1950s was the sweet spot for these people, and I think a lot of people romanticize the 1950s. It's one of those times for sure. was because of the houses and stuff. Why can't we go like, okay, let's try and get that economic benefit while going for the other social things that we all have now that are great? You know, like why can't we? Having a house with a picket fence is more or less just an economic issue. Like that's not a culture thing. The reason people don't have houses with white picket fences is not because the culture shifted. It's because like people can't afford that anymore. You know, like all the economic things going on there, or whatever. And like, why not try to retain? Like, why not go like, okay, yeah, let's like figure that out. From what I understand, I read a book on this. I think it was because of the New Deal's side effects still, and the post-war economy was like really good, and we're rebuilding Europe. So like, if that's what was making things so good back then, which is probably wrong, I don't want to, you know, don't quote me on that, because it was probably very wrong. Why don't we just do that again? Like, what's stopping us from just getting that one out again, doing another, you know, New Deal, helping countries around the world rebuild? So many countries can use it, you know, all the time. People aren't doing well everywhere, you know. And why not? Like, I genuinely don't understand why we can't do that while also retaining the good things that have come since. I think more good things have happened in the 1950s than bad in terms of like progress as humans. I think some countries have really done well with those good things too. Like I think a lot of places in Europe, if you look at them since then, they're living amazing lives. Like going to Switzerland was like a whole different universe just because they retained things right. They stuck the landing, you know what I mean? Where a lot of the other countries didn't. So like, why not just do that instead, you know? Romanticization, I think, could probably tell us a lot more than we think if we just like sort of let it, you know? But I don't know. If the sweet spot is in the future, like it's like, I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. You know, I don't think like the sweet spot is, because the problem is though, everyone disagrees on what the sweet spot is. You know, I guess the best would be like if all the countries could do something like a little bit different. So everyone could just like move around whatever they really like. That'd probably be the best way to do that, right? Just have everyone kind of hanging out in the good places they like. I could see that working. But what I've been romanticizing recently, actually, speaking of, is like the 1960s, like office wear stuff. I don't know why. I do know why. I'm working on a graphic design project where I'm using a lot of that imagery. But like it's so, I don't know, I just really like it. Little detail. So when I set out to first make this painting, I wanted to do a very clean outline. Like my goal was to make the painting from yesterday. Was that yesterday? I think it was. The painting with the divided guy with the blue background. I wanted to do that, but sort of like a red, like devilish kind of thing. I was just, you know, I liked the style. I thought it was cool. Kind of like, okay, this is gonna be a really weird niche reference. Green Day, their band's lead singer, Billy Joe Armstrong, started a second band with his son, and they have this single called Devil's Kind. Really great single, by the way. You should totally check it out. It's like punk kind of rock. It came out, oh my god, 2016, I want to say? 2017? 2018? I don't know. But it came out at some point, years ago. Really good song. And I just kind of was listening to it earlier, okay, I wasn't listening to it, I was thinking about it. I just didn't want to admit that, because I think I really just folded under no pressure to there. But I was thinking about it, I just didn't want to admit it, because I think it's a weird thing about album covers. But either way, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I could totally paint something really cool in that style. So I wanted to do that, and at first, so I wanted to do it with a clean line. That's not what's happened here at all, like not one bit. But I think it did like its own cool thing. Or maybe I'm coping with the fact that I failed the mission. I want to just go in here at the end too with this big brush, see what we could kind of get out of like some broader strokes. Something I'm really interested in doing. Fairly, I don't know, because I feel like it's one of those things where it's only interesting to do it if you're already fairly skilled at something like a painting, you know? I forget the artist, oh my god. He's one of my favorites, so it's really sad that I'm forgetting him. But he makes these giant, just 2 color blocks, and they're one of the, like, when people talk about modern art and they're like, it's stupid, I could do that. It's one of those things that they all point to, as to like, I could totally do that. And I'm really interested in doing that because I think those paintings are so interesting. The way that, like, I remember, maybe it's a thing where you gotta see in person, because the first time I saw one was in person. I want to say I think it's in the Met. It might be in MoMA, but in one of those 2 museums in Newark, I saw it, and it's actually kind of, I'd say it's one of like 5 paintings where I'm like, you gotta go see one of those in person, because the way you can genuinely feel the emotions coming off that, like, it's genuinely an experience. And I think it's something everyone needs to go see. But so I'm really interested in painting something like that. I feel like it could be interesting. But at the same time, I'm also like, that's only really interesting if I have the skill to actually paint something else good first, you know what I mean? Maybe it'd be interesting if I painted one of those, and then I painted like it later on in the year when I've had more practice. We're only in January, obviously. It's January, what, 10th right now, when you're watching this? So, like, there's a lot of time to improve. So maybe I'll do one January, you know, tomorrow in January, or sometime in January before the end of the month, and like do one once a month to see, like, is it true that you need skill to do that kind of thing? Because what I've discovered is, like, abstract art is not nearly as easy as people say it is. Like, it's not something you can just throw down on the canvas, which I've always loved abstract art regardless of the skill argument. I've always thought that was a really dumb argument to make. But I also was kind of like, okay, like, I could probably make a Pollock, you know what I mean? I don't think I could anymore. After painting for a little over a week now, which isn't even that long, like, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could touch that level of like, because there's a level of like mastery that even goes into pouring paint on a canvas. And that's the kind of thing you can only really understand once you're very good or something, or very bad at it, you know? I mean, I'm really bad at it right now, so I can see that, you know, I've come to realize that for sure. So there's a hair from one of the brushes in this painting now, and that's not the goal here. That's definitely not good. Either way, this is pretty much done. I think it looks pretty cool. Like, I like this. Like, I think it's solid stuff. Do you guys want me? First of all, I want your thoughts on the talk today. It was definitely a little bit less focused. It veered off into different directions. And I think the reason it veered off is because I changed my whole thesis. Like, I think maybe, yeah, people do things to make themselves feel better, but I also don't think it matters if they do that anymore, to be honest. Just throwing that out there. Okay, got the hair off. Oh my god, it's back on now. So I do, you know, so I kind of changed up my perspective, which is good. I mean, that's the point of a conversation, even if it's with myself. But I'd love to get your thoughts on it. What do you think? I'm sure there are going to be people watching this that are older, younger, maybe more politically active during some of the things I was mentioning, from different perspectives. So I'd love to get everyone's viewpoint on this, because I think it's something really interesting to discuss, because it's one of those things where, like, you can appreciate it no matter where you are, you know what I mean? I think the reason I've struggled in the past to do discussions about stuff like this, is because they're discussions only half the people can relate to. You know what I mean? Like if I were to come on here and discuss, like, which companies in the Palestine BDS list are legitimate or not. One, I don't care, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm not I'm not that kind of guy who does think about things like that. Two, half the audience is going to have that reaction. Half the people, especially if you're coming from another perspective on the issue, you're going to be like, that's stupid, I don't care, you know? But I think a topic like this is something that, like, people on the right, I'm sure youth see things, people just saying things kind of make themselves feel better, and people on the left too can relate to that. So I'd be interested in everyone's perspective on it, you know what I mean? And my second question that I had to end off today with, I took note of this. Do you guys want me to talk about the painting more, or what? Because the painting I wanted to take a back seat to the rest of the discussion, because I think, I don't know, I personally don't have the steam in me, nor the vocabulary to talk about my painting the whole time. But do you want more than I'm doing now? Because I wouldn't mind doing that. And the goal of this show is for me to learn to paint. But I was more so seeing it as like imagining that we had a paint class together every day, and we were just talking about random stuff, and you were watching me get better, and I was like watching you guys get better. Eventually, it'd be cool. I'd love to do like a hashtag. You know what I mean? Like post your paintings if you're painting along with me. If you're not, that's fine too. No judgment. This isn't a painters only community. But if you are painting, because I've gotten comments on previous channels too that people are painting, you know, like I'd love to do like a tag of like, this is what I painted today, because I think it's cooler if we're just talking and you can see me getting better in real time. I don't know though. I don't know 100%. Either way, thank you guys very much for watching. You know the drill. This will be up on Instagram if you want to go see the painting straight on, dried, varnished, all that good stuff. And until next time, what to do today? Go listen to that song I was talking about. Paint you later. That I don't. That one's bad. I know that one's bad. I don't know why. It sounds weird.